Hello and welcome back to the She is Courageous podcast. So let me start this week by saying I have a question for you. Have you ever taken a personality test? Now, when I say personality test, I am very conscious there are so many tests out there. And I'm not talking about one of those on social media, like, what kind of, I can't think of them now, what kind of potato would you be? I don't mean those kind of things, right? I'm talking about the more official stuff. So maybe you've heard of Myers-Briggs, disc profiling, strengths finders, insights, colours. I mean, the list goes on and on. Even human design, that's one that a lot of people are talking about. So I want to start this podcast by asking you, and I know you can't tell me literally, but have you ever taken anything like that? Have you ever taken one of those kinds of tests? Whether that's a free one online or you've had the opportunity to take one of those tests maybe in a job you've had, because many people that have worked in the corporate space will be nodding as they're listening to this. I, as some of you know, spent 25 years in the corporate world before I started running my business. And at some point, I have done every single one of those tests, those personality profiling tests that I just mentioned, literally every single one of them. And I feel really grateful that I had that opportunity. I want to just be really clear about that. I really do. They were usually part of some form of leadership training or team development workshop. They're all about helping you understand yourself, largely in the corporate world, to be an even better leader. And they're really, really interesting. And I think, if I'm honest, having been exposed to Myers-Briggs disc profiling, like in my early 20s, having been exposed to those things in my early 20s, actually is part of why I became so interested in people, how we think, how we behave, because I was really interested when I first did this and got my own report. I was taken aback by how accurate it was, if I'm honest. And as I'm now saying this, I'm also thinking about the fact that over the course of those 25 years, I've done different forms. I've done the same ones over and over. Like DISC, for example, I have DISC profiled myself. I've been DISC profiled several times over the years. And the reality is they don't really change in terms of what they tell you. And I'll come back to that. Now, if you're interested, mine generally tell me that I'm very structured, I'm quite strategic, I'm very action driven, I'm a natural leader. That was always good to hear when you were in leadership roles. I have some borderline personality traits that often cross lines in terms of the action and the competitive driven side of me, but also the desire to be liked. Probably not a surprise if you know me, okay? Now, I did all these personality tests over the years and I would nod along, right? Because they were so accurate. I would literally be like, oh my God, that is me. I mean, I remember asking once if they had cameras in my house because that was so me. But something that I realised along the line was, firstly, these are very much directed at the employed space. So I use the word corporate. They're very much directed at the corporate space, the employed space. And as I say, very often directed at leadership roles. Got an itchy nose. They're designed to help you fit into a team. They're designed to help you perform better inside a structure that already exists, i.e. the employed space. What they're not about, or not traditionally used for, is helping you understand yourself to create a life and a business that works for you. I'm going to be really clear. I'm talking about the more corporate Myers-Briggs, DISC, Strengths Finders, Insights. Maybe you've heard of them, maybe you haven't. You can check them out. You can give them a Google if you want to. Now, I am DISC qualified. What does that mean? That means that I am accredited and qualified to use DISC profiling, to give DISC profiles to individuals and help them understand their results, the report they get. Now, as I say, what I realised, and I've done this for many, many business owners, and it has been helpful, but they are very much written to direct you within a structure that already exists and to direct you in how you fit in a team. They aren't necessarily about helping you figure out what drives you, what trips you up, quite frankly, or or how to show up more intentionally as a business owner, or how to show up more intentionally in life. So a few weeks ago, and I've been sitting on this for a while, I had this idea. The first time I had this idea was probably about a year ago. And I'm not a procrastinator. I think it was just something that I had this idea. I probably thought it was a lot more complicated than I was capable of. And in terms of priorities, it didn't really fit. But I kept coming back to it. I kept coming back to this idea that with my knowledge of all of those personality profiling tests, with my accreditation and even further knowledge of DISC, could I create something that wasn't about labeling you, but about giving you real insight into how you think, how you behave, how you operate, not as an employee, but as a human, as a founder, as a leader of your own life, as a woman who is driving the whole damn thing. Because you'll know how I feel about labels. None of us need more labels, okay? And I'm conscious I'm saying that. I'm about to share with you that, yes, I have given some labels to this, but go with me, please. We don't need more labels. What we need to do is understand ourselves better. We need to understand the real stuff, the stuff that shows up when we're procrastinating again. What's really going on there? When, we're ghosting our own marketing, when we're self-sabotaging our own goals, when we keep changing what we're doing, when we get stuck in the loop of knowing what we need to do but not doing it. That is what I wanted to create, and that is what I have created. Now, this is in its very early stages, and it is very much about business ownership at this moment in time. It's a quiz about the patterns that show up in business owners. From the last 5 years of work I've done with founders, this is what I believe are the patterns that show up. This is what I've seen through all of the work I've done with all the clients. And this quiz is about the behaviors that help, the patterns that help, and the ones that get in our way. So I wanted to give you a little window into this quiz today and the 6 types of personality that I have identified. You might hear yourself in one of them. So I'm obviously going to say, go to the show notes now and you can take this quiz, okay? But I'm going to give you a little bit of a window into the profiles, the categories, the types that I've come up with from all of my insight, all of the work I've done, and what this quiz leads to. So as I said, maybe you've done tests like this over the years. And actually I did this myself, and unsurprisingly, it's still aligned in a lot of ways to what DISC profiling tells me. So I'm going to talk to you about these. So I came up with 6 personality types in business, and I'm going to give you a little window into them. You might, as I said, hear yourself in one or maybe more. And that's very important, actually. That's not unusual. You are not one type of person, okay? And this is what happens in any profiling you will do. Sometimes it will give you one answer. And I should point out now, if you do my quiz, it will give you one answer as a starting point, because I don't have a team of hundreds in the background building these very, 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 very intricate algorithms. This is about helping you understand where your energy goes, what's driving you, what's derailing you, and how to start moving forward with more clarity, more ease. Of course, I'm going to say with more courage as well. So I'm going to take you through the 6 personality types that I have identified. I'm not going to shove you in a box, okay? But I want to give some language that helps. So let me talk you through the 6 personality types. So the first one is the achiever. Now, pretty self-explanatory, right? The achiever is the woman who is always chasing the next goal. She is driven by ticking the box, by completing the to-do list, but possibly, probably, secretly wondering if any of it is actually what she wants. If you are an achiever, you're the one that is externally, and not just externally actually, you're smashing it, right? But you're probably exhausted and not sure why. As the title suggests, if you fall into the achiever category, everything is about keep moving forward, ticking off all the goals, and that's how you're measuring your success. Now, that doesn't mean that's not right or wrong. It's simply saying, actually, if you fall into that category, questions to ask yourself might be, Am I achieving the goals I actually want? Am I chasing the things I want? Am I striving for the things I want? And actually, do I want to feel this exhausted? Because that is a really common thread for the achiever. Now, the second type is the performer. Now, the performer generally is brilliant at being seen, at showing up, at bringing the energy. I feel like I want to ask you to drop me a message or post on the socials where you think I fall into. But anyway, so performers, as the title suggests, brilliant at being seen, as I said, showing up, bringing the energy. But and all of this, I should have said this before, all of these types in any personality profiling, the reason that, generally speaking, we are not just one is because they're described in their extremes, okay? And so when one is in performer mode, that's great because, actually, there's a lot of people that will be thinking, well, I wish I could be more like that. I wish I could show up more and bring the energy. But when someone has a tendency to be a performer, to have those characteristics, when things go quiet, they can spiral really quickly because momentum is everything. So what they do is they keep doing more even when it's not fully aligned. Now, third type, the supporter. Now, the supporters are our calm, consistent, thoughtful supporters of others. The ones that get things done, usually quite quietly in the background, but can tend to hold back, can tend to soften their voice for fear of what some might think, can sometimes hide behind being helpful. And that will be costing them the growth they know they are capable of. So they can get very, very frustrated because they know they're capable of more. And they're so busy helping others to achieve their more, they're not actually doing the things they want to do to get there. But they have this constant conflict about putting themselves ahead of others because at the core of it, they are about other people more often than they are about themselves. Then we've got the thinker. Now, look, none of these are, they're not particularly abstract titles. I want it to be really, really clear. Like in disc profiling, you have I can't remember what they're called now, dominant, inspiring, supportive, and constant, I think. Oh God, I can't remember now. Like we have colours, red, blue, yellow, green. What does that mean? I want it to be really clear and explicit. So then we have the thinker. She's the thinker. She's clever. She's strategic. She's deep. She definitely wants to get things right. That can hold her back because there can be elements of perfectionism in there. She can have a tendency to waiting for everything to be perfect, waiting for everything to be correct, waiting to have all the answers, editing, overanalyzing, overthinking. She's a planner. She is great at a plan, but can have a tendency not to finish because she gets back in her own head. Now, great for detail, great for real attention, great for thinking of things that other people don't think of, but can get in her own way at actually getting anything out there. Then there's the juggler. Clues in the title, spinning all the plates. The jugglers are usually really capable, really adaptable, really resilient. A lot of women will identify with a juggler. Not necessarily because it's a strength, but because they have to. Jugglers can often feel very scattered, like they know that this is not sustainable, okay, the way that they're operating, but they feel like they have to behave this way. They have to keep everyone's plates spinning. The jugglers are always working really, really, really hard, but very often not actually achieving or certainly feeling like they're not achieving anything. And none of that is sustainable. They're the ones that will get to the end of a month, a week, a month, a year and go, where did that go? And why am I in the same place I was last year? Now, they are great multitaskers. They have an ability to retain information and hold so many different things at one time. But like anything, I remember a boss of mine once saying this to me. This was back in my early 20s when I probably did my first disc profile. And he said, Shelley, your greatest strength overplayed will become your biggest opportunity. And that is the case for all of this. So when I talk about the juggler, there's a real strength in being able to juggle and adapt and be flexible. However, overplayed, that means basically nothing ever gets actually done. Nothing actually makes progress because so much is always on the go. And then finally, we have the dreamer. Now, in the entrepreneur world, the dreamer is like a brilliant trait, like huge vision, big ideas, big plans, like not afraid to dream big, but can tend to do so without structure. Not a completer finisher. Always got a new idea. What's that phrase that we talk? Shiny object. There you go. Shiny object syndrome. So the dreamer can tend to have shiny object syndrome. What she will see is a new idea and go, oh my God, I know what we could do with that. So there's often a lot of half-finished, brilliant ideas, I might add, but they've not gone anywhere because they've had another great idea. Now look, that's a real quick whistle-stop tour of the 6 personality types that I have identified and put together as the output of this quiz. The achiever, the performer, the supporter, the thinker, the juggler, the dreamer. Now, interestingly, I've had so many people do this quiz already, and I have had so many messages literally saying, oh my God, nailed it. You have literally described me. I had someone say, I felt like this quiz was only written for me because the response, the profile that came out for me should have had my name in it. So, is any of this sounding familiar to you? Now, what I love about this work is that once you see your pattern, you can think about how do you want to change it. Because self-awareness is great, okay? I say this all the time. Awareness is the first step of change, but it's not enough on its own. You've got to then really start to think about what do you do with it. Now, you don't need to fix anything that's not broken, and you are not broken. You don't have to fix anything that's not working for you, but this is about having the awareness of where you have the strengths and where you might have some opportunities. So what I love about this, and the reason I've created this version of this quiz, is to really help you see your patterns in your business and your life so that you can go, do you know what, that pattern's not working for me. I want to do something with it. But that pattern is working with me. It is working for me. I want to strengthen it. Because this isn't about becoming someone else. It is about leading yourself better. It's about when you know how you operate, you can stop second guessing. You can make better decisions even faster. You can build boundaries that make sense for you and what works for you. You can stop trying to do things like the other person on Instagram that you keep telling yourself you need to be more like and do it your way. I see these things all the time. So look, the achiever who learns to pause and question better questions rather than just running at it. The thinker who sets a deadline and finally launches that thing that they want to put out there. The dreamer who picks one idea and takes it all the way. I've worked with these people, but for so long I've kept quiet what I can see, as in the themes and the patterns, and I've just helped each and every individual. And now I am giving you a way, really simply, to understand your type and to start to know what to do with it. So if you are curious, if you're like, I wonder what she's going on about, even if you're not a founder, because this would be really interesting for me, because now I've started this ball rolling, I'm really keen to take it further. I've put the link to the quiz in the show notes. It will take you less than 5 minutes, and then you will get your immediate response, answer, category, profile, with some hints and tips that you can use immediately. There's even a little video. It might just change the way you work, the way you communicate at home. I would love for you to give this a go. And what I'd love even more is once you've taken the quiz, drop me a DM and tell me your type. Let me know what landed for you. And please, if something doesn't land for you, let me know too. Now, this is first stage of this. I don't even really have a good name for it. It's called the Business Personality Profile Quiz right now. I mean, it's not great, is it? If you've got a better idea, please send me a message. But if you are ready to go even deeper with this, then that's when the real work begins. So as always, I'm going to remind you there are ways to take the next step. Keep listening to the podcast. Come join us in the She Is Courageous Collective. And I'm actually working on something with a select few members of the collective right now to take this current working title Business Personality Quiz to the next level in terms of how you use that detail. So stick around because we are just getting started. But for now, if you haven't already, take the quiz, link is in the show notes, and let me know, what are you? Are you an achiever, a thinker, a performer, a supporter, a juggler, or the dreamer? I'd love to hear from you.